daughters not to do what I've been doing lately.
We shot birds like
Okay,
crazy.
it's about 6 o'clock, so we'll get started so we can eat.
To tell the truth.
Oh, that's why we're here, is for food?
Welcome to the November 2024 meeting. If you haven't silenced your phones, please do so. Jared Booker is going to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
what do you have for supper last night?
Okay, there's a sign-in sheet going around.
That,
Janice has a sign-in sheet. If you haven't signed in, please do so. The minutes. Did everybody get their minutes? Meeting minutes from last month? Any questions, comments, corrections, additions? Okay, if there are none, then we will deem that to go as it is. Treasurer's report, Leah.
In October, we sold some books for $70, and we had some expenses of postage and envelopes. We have $1,602.73 in our checking account, and our CD is still at $11,041.74. And in our eBay account for Melissa to find us interesting artifacts, we've got $79.64 left.
motion to approve.
All in favor? All right, thank you, Leah. I have asked Leah to get us a list of our members, whether you are a yearly membership person or a lifetime membership person, in case you forgot. That's coming up again, maybe in January, so we'll get a list for everybody. And maybe we can get some cards that have your name on it, so you'll know.
I can do
You can
that.
remember whether you're lifetime or yearly, and it's $50 per household for yearly and $10 per household per
No.
year. So-
Lifetime is $50.
Lifetime, yes,
And it's $10 a year
for a year.
for a family.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, that's the one list I don't have.
okay.
I have lifetime, I forgot to.
Well, that's okay, because your year will expire in December
Right.
anyway, so everything will be new. In new business, I had a call from Miss Betsy Ligon, who is now in charge of the hams for Christmas. And she asked if the Historical Society wanted to donate hams like we used to. The hams this year are $50. I think last year they were 40. And we got 2. Is there any discussion on whether we want to do 2 or 1 or 0?
I say we do 2. I think we do 2.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, I'll approve. Opposed?
Do you know what night they're giving away?
The 6th.
6th of December.
Okay.
We'll have the tree lighting, they'll have the craft fair at City Hall all day, so they'll get half of the hams away during the craft fair, the other half during the tree lighting.
And they had a bunch last year.
Yes, a bunch of hams, we had over 70 hams.
Okay, Jackie, do you want to talk about what we have been doing yesterday and ongoing about our Vietnam and our Korean veterans?
The Historical Society had a display at the Veterans Day program at Tennessee Ridge that was sponsored by the American Legion. They invited us to do a display, and we had pictures of the Korean and Vietnam veterans that we'll have pictures of. Everybody seemed to really enjoy that, and this is kind of a kickoff for us to start gathering information on our Vietnam and Korean War veterans, and with the hope of doing a program like we've done with World War I, World War II. And if you're a vet or know a vet, send them our way.
Or we can send them down here and get them sent them here too? Because I know there's a bunch, and that information is harder to get.
I forget, do Do you remember how many was on the list that I sent? Because I keep a master list for the dog tags up at the Veterans Park. Do you know how many there were?
Yeah, close to 700,
That's Korea and Vietnam?
right. May been a little bit up and down, but about that.
And we've got
And,
about 40 pictures, so.
Yeah.
So we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
The nominations committee consisting of Jackie, because I didn't get to anybody else, but she got everything done before I got her any helper. And the nominations for our officers for next year, everybody agreed to keep their same position. If there's any discussion or if anybody's changed their mind, anybody wants to be on that board of directors or that.
I move we just do this by acclamation.
All in favor of taking these nominations by acclamation? Any opposed? Okay, that's taken care of for next year. When the minutes came out last time, I asked that we have number on our cemetery maps and, you know, what's available. The books and the maps that's available, the cemetery maps, we have the White Oak map. We have plenty. The Miles property maps, there are none here. The history of Houston County, the little green book, is out of print. We have plenty of the books, cemetery books, and reflections from our past. We have plenty of those. Upcoming meetings, our December meeting will be held on the second Tuesday at the City Hall. It will be food. The turkey dressing rolls, paper products will be furnished. Please bring a side item. We don't have a program yet, but that's okay. We can just eat and have fellowship and membership, and we'll get our next year kicked off, which in January will be, did you get to check with?
It's on his calendar.
Okay, it's on the mayor of the county's calendar. February, y'all want to have show and tell again?
That'd be good.
Okay, everybody had such a good time with that last time. March, again, we will support the Irish festivities. And if you have a program you would like to present, I kind of have one for June that I'm looking at, and I know some of you have mentioned other people that you might get in contact with, but we're good through March of next year for our programs. So, is there anything else anybody needs to say or wants to say? I'll turn the program over to Melissa.
Okay, I'm gonna do my archives update real quick first, and then I'm gonna do the program real quick, and then we'll eat. This way, we kind of get some time in before upstairs the commissioners get their meeting, and so maybe then they can have time to come down. I don't think they care for our meeting as much as they do the food, so we'll do that. Archives update. I come to you every month and I tell you what's been donated, and so now you're actually here in my space. So now I can tell you some things. If you'll notice out in the hallway, we have two old doctor's scales. One came from Betsy Legan, her father was a doctor, I've told you all about this one. And the other one, Dr. Martin actually donated it. It was original to Hillcrest Clinic when they formed Hillcrest Clinic. They are operational. You are welcome to weigh yourself tonight if you'd like. Before you leave, yes. Jefferson, before you leave. So feel free to use them. You can't break them. They are strong, so. Donald Bateman donated some wonderful glasses. These are from Granite City Steel. Many of our family members, ancestors may have worked at this particular company. Some of my husband's ancestors went to, people from here went to Detroit, or they went to Granite City, or they went to someplace in Missouri that they went to. Anyway, to work. And so he donated these glasses. I really like them. I've got them on display. If you look over here behind Leah, if you can kind of move out of the way, behind you.
Oh, that's that way.
Susie Schmidt-Baxter donated these photos. These are Lewis and Morris Barnes, World War II veterans. They were brothers. They have been documented through our World War II program, but these are very special photos of them. She told me a really neat story that their mother told them to never marry, never trust a woman, and to never marry, and they didn't. So they have no family members to pass anything down to, so they came here. So I think I'm going to be getting much more as they clean out stuff. And then the last update as far as donations is actually going to be a surprise reveal. On Friday, I had Mr. Tracy Lewis come in Friday, and he had been telling me he was going to donate this particular item for some time. And so he finally brought it in. And so I have it under this trash bag. I couldn't find something prettier than a trash bag. So anyway, many of you may or may not recognize it when you see it, but this came from the Culver Shoe Company. This was Tracy Lewis's parents both worked there. It was located, if you don't know, it was located where City Hall is now. It burned in the 1970s. The man who came and brought that company actually was out of Chicago, Illinois, which becomes very important in a minute. And Tracy told me that when you go into the front entrance, some of you may have been in that front entrance, that there was sort of a gate or something where the employees had to go through, and there was 2 posts. And there was things on top of those posts. There's only 2 of them, and now we have 1 of them. So I'm going to try. I hope I didn't. That is the Culver Shoe mascot, the Culver Cubs. And if any of you are baseball fans, you look at the bottom and the logo from the Culver Shoe Company. I think he stole it. Because if anybody knows about baseball, all the Chicago clubs, that is their logo, the way they do the C. And he was from Chicago, Illinois. So there was 2 of them, he says, and 1 was on each post. He doesn't know where the other one went to, but they have this one. So we talked about it, and normally when it comes to antiques, you don't ever touch or do any of the antiques, but he is requesting that we have it painted back to its original. I know. I look at it, Clint, and I'm like, no. It's chalk. It's made of chalk. So I'm debating. I'm going back and forth. I'm talking to someone who can paint it, but my feeling is to leave it alone. I think there's enough on there to paint except for the face, the eyes and stuff. There's no paint left on the eyes. The base was red. All that down there was red, and of course it's brown. But anyway, so we were very thankful that he donated this to us, and I told him it would be on display. So as far as I know, 1 of 2. Now, many of you may or may not know that the Culver Shoe Company had more than 1 factory, not just Erin, because I've looked for Culver Shoe boxes. We have one back in the display case that has Erin, Tennessee on it, and as I was looking for those, I've seen other shoe boxes just like that one with other cities on it, which means there was other factories in other places.
A little cover trivia, my mother, Marilyn Rye, was the first woman ever hired by Culver Shoe Company.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. And before we got this, the day before, we had gotten someone, I can't remember his name, came in with a photograph of his mother in front of the front entrance. And that's what precipitated Tracy bringing us that. So we're very proud to have it. We'll put it on display. So those are our donations and archives update. And I'm going to move right into our program. It's going to be a very short program. But I have been inspired to kind of look at our depots in Houston County. And Leah is going to, you may have to move that way.
No, I'm setting it up.
Okay. And I'm sorry, this is a smaller screen. I wish we had a great big huge display screen. But hopefully you can see it. And I am going to have it over here. Okay, go ahead and advance just so you can see it. We're gonna talk about Houston County train depots. Now, the first one is Cumberland City Depot, not in Houston County. However, we do have some things for the Cumberland City Depot. So I wanted to share those. Next. This is a photograph, the only photograph that we have of the Cumberland City Depot from 1927. This was a flood of 1927. One of the things I'm also documenting is the many, many disastrous floods we've had in Houston County. 1927 was a very, very bad flood for Houston County. So this is the depot there. So I just wanted to share that with you at the beginning. Like I said, I know it's not Cumberland City, although Houston County kind of claims Cumberland City. So actually, if you don't know, when Houston County was formed in a county in 1871, we initially received Cumberland City as part of our county. Stewart County sued and got it back. So next. Over the course of me doing research into our depots and the L&N Railroad in Houston County, I actually contacted the University of Louisville Archives and Records Center and got schematics for every depot that we've ever had in Houston County. And so you're going to see these for every depot that we have. And so these are the plans. Next. This is the floor plan for the Cumberland City Depot. Next. And the red arrows. Up there it says it was built in 1907. And if you'll notice there, sign of the times, they had a white waiting room and a colored waiting room. You'll notice most of the depots had that. Next, the Danville Depot. The Danville Depot has a lot of history associated with it, as do all the depots, obviously. I wish we had some of them still remaining. Many newspaper articles about things that happened in Danville. Danville is one of the most fascinating places to research, especially before the flood. They were constantly in the newspapers for all kinds of things. Next. This is not the best picture, but this is one of the pictures that we have of the depot from 1913. Like I said, it's not the best picture. This is actually a picture postcard. Again, I wish I knew who the people were that are there. Next. This is another one from the 1927 flood. Again, the flood was very bad in 1927. I got it right over there showing the water on the tracks. We don't know who any of these people are, but it shows you the depot. Next. Here is the flood of 1937. 10 years later, they had another disastrous flood. Not a great picture, but we'll take any picture we can get of anything in Houston County. As you can see, the water is pretty much surrounding the building there. Next. This is the Danville Depot before TVA flooded it. This is dated about 1940. This is a train is number 103. You can see the train there coming through. And that old car, I love the old cars. Next. This is from 1942, again before the flood. They were getting ready for the flood. This is just before it was moved to a quarter-mile east and slightly north in anticipation of flood. They moved the depot when they flooded Danville. The red arrow there is showing you the bridge in the background. So it gives you an idea, if you didn't know, how close the depot was to the bridge. And then behind the depot, you can't see it very well in this photograph, but they're preparing to move the tracks. They moved the tracks whenever they flooded down there. Next. This is from 1943, after the depot had been moved to a new location. You can see with that red arrow there, you can barely kind of see the beginning of the sign that said Danville right there. And one of these men can be identified. The third one from the left is Ira Bell. Someone was talking about Ira Bell earlier tonight. He worked for the railroad. We have many records and information because of him. He donated a lot of his records and things to the Historical Society, which came to us. So he has really helped us to preserve a lot of our railroad history. I wish we knew who the other men were. Next. The schematics for the Danville depot. Next. There they are. That's the floor plan. I like having the floor plans. I'm horrible at looking at floor plans, though. I'm not one of those that I can envision what it looks like. But some of you may look at it and can see exactly what it looks like. Next. It was built in 1899. Now, one of the things I want you to keep in mind when I'm showing you all these depots, which kind of made me start thinking, we know that the L&N Railroad ran through Houston County way before these dates. They had to have had another depot. So my goal now is to find out what did those depots look like and where were they located. So this one was built in 1899, and then there was an addition. Agent's office enlarged and added to the freight room in 1912, and the Crusader room put in 1914. And then again, I'm pointing out they had a white waiting room and a black waiting room. Next. It's Stewart Depot. There's not very much more. Very short program. Stewart Depot. This is one where my husband's family, his mother, her family grew up in Stewart. My husband's grandparents, Conley and Irene Stringfield, if any of you knew them, lived right on, I think it was called Front Street, that faced the railroad tracks. My husband remembers as a child visiting there at night, the train would go through there at night and shake the house every time it would go through there, which told me his grandfather built that house. He did a very good job building that house if that train would shake that house every time it went by. So if you ever go down to Front Street, it's the only house that's a rock. It's made of rock. That was the Stringfield house. Next. I love this particular rendition of the Stewart Depot. Leland McCauley drew this. I have actually the drawing, but this is a colorized version from 1993. Again, I really like this particular rendition because we don't have a whole lot of great photographs of it. Again, we don't have very many good photographs of the Stewart Depot. This one is from 1947. Like I said, I wish it was clear. There is a person there. It says Luke Horner, so I'm guessing that that's who that is. You can barely make out an image of the person there.
That's Luke Horner.
Luke Horner, okay. You can tell that's him, huh?
Yeah, I've seen him sitting there lots of times.
Okay. This is the west end of the building. Some of you know who this is. That was not on the picture of who it was. Again, you may think this is kind of a silly photograph, but in my business, we look for any and all photographs we can document things like this because there's just not that many. Next. This one was given to us telling us this was the Stewart Depot. I question whether this is the Stewart Depot. So I'm still working on the research of this one. It does not look like the other pictures of the Stewart Depot. So I'm still working on this one. Next. Again, the schematics of the Stewart Depot. Again, I got this from the archives in Louisville. There is an L&N Archives in Louisville. They have a lot of records. I'm actually now working with them to try to get more information on the Erin Depot and the Central Hotel because there's some things that's happened with that I kind of uncovered. I'll talk about it in a minute. Trying to get some more information. So here's a floor plan for the Stewart Depot. Again, you know, they kind of all look different in a way. I love that they're not all exactly the same. Next. It was built in 1915, so we know that in Stewart and in Danville and these places, they had to have had a different depot before these were built. So now I'm on the mission to find pictures of those, find out where they were located. And this one actually does not have a white waiting room and a black waiting room, which I thought was kind of interesting for that time period. Next. And we have the sign from the Stewart Depot. This was actually located in the Stewart School a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was called because I had told the people who were over the Stewart School or Stewart Community Center, when you're ready to get rid of the post office, call me, because the post office was in the school. And that building had been closed for several years, and I was worried about that post office. So we went down there, and anyone who knows me knows I'll save anything. But that building, poor building, needs to be tore down. I've seen buckled floors before. Those floors were buckled up to my knees, all the way through the building like this. So I just don't know how you would save that building. But, so we got the post office out, which was great. But then we got the Stewart Depot sign, and we also got the Stewart High School sign. I took it right off the wall. He said you can have whatever you want in the building. So I took as much as I possibly could. Next. Next is the Tennessee Ridge Depot. This particular depot is the reason why I wanted to do this program tonight, because of a recent photograph that was donated. Next. This particular photograph, many of you that do Tennessee Ridge research have probably seen before. This was taken about 1930, not the greatest photograph. However, we see the depot and a train going through. This is where you go to Tennessee Ridge, there's a little sharp curve. You can see that some of those buildings are still there today. You come around, next. Here's another one that many of us probably have seen. I've got a red arrow to where the depot is. Again, it gives you a good idea of what it looked like back in the day. Next. This is also, we believe, to be the Tennessee Ridge Depot. This is another one, kind of like the Stewart photograph, that I'm not 100% sure that this is the Tennessee Ridge Depot. I need to do some more research on it. It is claimed to be the Tennessee Ridge Depot. Next. This is the photograph that kind of got me started on this particular project. It was the original photograph donated by Susie Snow Baxter. It is the Tennessee Ridge Depot. I talked to Otis Kelly. I've talked to several people, and we have verified that it is the Tennessee Ridge Depot. It underwent some changes over the years, because some people were like, that's not the Tennessee Ridge Depot, it looks different. But it is, it's the Tennessee Ridge Depot. And someone online, actually, when I posted it next, did some work on it, and it looks a little bit better when they did some work on it. We do not know who the two men are. They're dressed pretty dapper there. But I love this up-close, detailed picture of the depot. Next. This is inside the depot. This is Frank Moore and Sam Davidson from early 1900. Only picture we have of the inside of the depot. I only have 2 photographs of the inside of any of our depots. This is one. So we're continually looking. One of the things I encourage people to do when you're looking at your photographs, many people look at the people, try to name the people, that's great. Look behind the people. Look at the buildings, look where they're at, look at any landmarks, because that's what I'm looking for, because there's a lot of places we don't have pictures of. Next. Schematics of the Tennessee Ridge Depot. Here is the floor plan there. Again, you do have a white waiting room and a black waiting room. This particular depot was built in 1898. Alterations and additions were made in 1913. Of course, it goes on to talk about different things. It's got a brick foundation, a tile roof. The ceiling height is 13 inches feet, right? Yeah, I'm horrible with measurements. So it's great to have these. Maybe one day someone will win the lottery in the community and we can build one of our depots back to the actual schematics. That'd be fun. Next.
Where was the depot located, like in relation to the Ridge Restaurant?
Well, if you go back,
Towards the end, towards the lake, or
Directly behind the old store building there.
yeah,
Go back.
behind up my?
right here.
It's
Leah, I need to point out,
next to the insurance
go back to
office.
the one with the train in
They
front
used to
of
be an
it.
old store.
The yellow looking one
Yellow, without the train or with the train?
with the train. There, you see it?
Hold on. That, and you can see the store up there.
Well, I mean, okay, you
Go
see
back
where
further.
the railroad crossing sign is?
Here,
And I could come
behind a,
Clint, come up and show us where,
which picture, I'm not.
point to where it's located, where the store is.
Oh, here with the train, here's with the train.
Yeah, is that not,
Well, the store's not there, but as you go across the railroad track, you go up the hill, and right now it's a residence, but that used to be a country store. Skinny Sykes had a store there. Summers had a store there. And that building would be right here. This was directly behind the building it's standing there now.
Where would the
Your
insurance,
building?
oh, y'all's insurance.
Well, it's west of the insurance office. Insurance office would be back where these trees
Yeah,
are.
okay.
Okay.
I'm right there in the curve.
yeah, right there in the curve, yeah, right there in the curve. So when you go up there now and you go around that curve, just imagine the depot is right there.
Probably not.
Well, you can tell you see the railroad sign?
Mm-hmm.
But that was the main highway right there. You went
Yeah.
right by there, went up the hill, and went around.
Yeah. All right, go up to Aaron Depot, Leah. Now, the Aaron Depot is one that we actually have more photographs and information on, of course, than others, I guess, because it was the capital city. Next. This particular photograph was taken after 1902. And we have the depot there on the left and the Central Hotel, which is on the right. The Central Hotel was built by the Illinois Railroad in the 1860s. And then it was torn down in 1956 or 58. We have a chair right here from the Central Hotel, and I have another one in storage. We have two little things out of the hotel, but we have very little from the hotel. For it to have been in business for as long as it is, we don't even have a picture of anyone that was taken inside the hotel. We don't have any pictures of the inside of the hotel. So you'd think after 100 years of being in business, someone would have a picture of the inside of that hotel, but we
Okay,
don't.
Melissa, another question. Do you have any information that they moved the hotel?
Yes, I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay, pull
Yeah.
it by mule, okay.
So, if you were at the last meeting, last month, I told you about some discoveries about this hotel. Next. This is the more what I would call famous picture that we all know about. This is actually a picture postcard. Again, this would have been taken after 1902, and there's a reason why I know that. Again, we have the depot, and we have the Central Hotel. Next. Before I go to this picture, the reason I know that was, go back, Leah. The reason I know this was taken after 1902, because I recently came across some wonderful newspaper articles. On October the 8th, 1902, from the Nashville newspaper, it says the Louisville and Nashville Railroad Company is soon to begin the erection of a $7,000 depot at this place. The Central Hotel, which is owned by the L&N, is going to be moved back from the railroad to Market Street. And the space now occupied by the hotel is to be utilized for the new depot and sidetracks. So, this picture was taken after that move because we have the depot built. So the Central Hotel in this photograph was actually, before this photograph, located where the depot is. And it was moved. Come on in. And it was moved to what was called Market Street, which we didn't. Leah goes, Market Street? We didn't have Market Street. Look now. Roads changed names. So that was October 8th, 1902. November 28th, 1902, the Louisville and Nashville Railroad has begun work on the new depot here. It is to be built where the Central Hotel now stands, and the hotel will be moved back to Market Street. And then April the 3rd, 1903, the Louisville and Nashville Railroad Company has just completed and moved into the new passenger and freight depot here. They have also just finished a long side track running at the rear of the depot from which to load and unload freight. The company has done a great deal of work and expended a large sum of money in improvements here within the last 3 months. When I started doing the archives, I always knew about the move the Central Hotel made from this position to facing Main Street where Ergo Communications, or the old MLEC building is. I've always known about that move. There's a great article about it. It talks about they used a mule and a winch. The people eating lunch never felt a thing. But just in the last couple of weeks, I found these articles that told us not only was this hotel moved once, but it was moved twice. A 3-story hotel. I don't know how you accomplish that. I'm not an engineer. But they moved it, and they moved it like it was, oh, we're gonna move it. So this photograph was taken after that move, and they built the new depot. Next. Here's a picture of the Aaron Depot from 1965. Many of you in this room probably remember it from this time period. And then there's a train, passenger train there. Next. This particular photograph is kind of famous around here. This photograph is from about 1921. This photograph was part of evidence that was gathered when the court case of E.W. Rosher's murder went to the Supreme Court. Miss Ann Hagler was writing her book, The Settling Place. She found out that the court case of Mr. Rosher's murderer actually went to the Supreme Court. She got the Supreme Court records, and within those records were photographs of downtown Erin, because that's where the murder happened, and this was one of those photographs. So, great, you can see the water tower there. One thing I find very interesting about some of these photographs is that there's a lot of trash on the ground, which kind of interests me. If you go back to the Central Hotel one, go back to. You look on the ground, there's a lot of
Oh,
trash.
wow.
I don't know why that interests me, but there were just, I just thought, there's a lot of trash. Okay, go forward to picture postcard. You there? Okay. Here's another one. This is a picture postcard of the end of the Erin Depot. Next. Here's the most recent picture. The 1960s or so. I can't tell from the trucks. So you men in the audience who can look at those trucks and tell me what year those are. I'm thinking late 60s, early 70s.
68.
What you think? What do you think, Mr. Smithy? Mitchell? 68? I was thinking late 60s.
Wasn't it about 65 when they had the general down here, the train, the Civil War?
I'm not sure when that was, actually. And so by now, it's really starting to get a little dilapidated. Well, we know that, I'm not sure the date they tore it down, but I know they tore up the last of the tracks in 1985. Next. Here's the other photograph we have of an inside of one of our depots. This was in the inside of the Erin Depot. I found and purchased this photograph off of eBay. It is a news photograph that would have been published in a newspaper. I hadn't figured out which newspaper yet. But it is Senator Estes Kefauver. He's the one who's warming his hands there. I didn't know, with the glasses on. He is in the depot. We don't know any of the other people in the picture. This is from about 1963 or before. The reason I say that is because he passed away in 1963. So it had to be before 1963. Took me a while to identify him. Oh, actually, he was identified on the back of the photograph. I've been trying to identify others in the photograph. I've been trying to identify what was he doing in town. He was probably campaigning, obviously. He was a Tennessee state senator. But this is only the second photograph we have of anyone inside of a depot in Houston County. I love the stove. I actually researched the stove because I'd never seen a stove like that before. Has anybody ever seen a stove like that before? Yeah? Okay. I'm a city girl, so we didn't have stoves like that growing up. Next. So the schematics for the Erin Depot. And this is another thing that when I had seen these schematics, I was confused because here's the schematics, here's the floor plan. Again, there's a white and a colored waiting room. Next. But it answers something that I was confusing me for many years. It says built in 1902. I thought this depot was the original depot they built in the 1860s or 1870s. But when I found the newspaper articles, now it makes sense. There probably was a depot. I talked to Kay French. She says that the previous depot was down closer to the walking trail where the African American Club building is.
American Legion.
American Legion, thank you. She said it was closer to that point. So I would love to know what that looked like. Don't have any pictures of it. Also, if you'll notice there, they have new room for trained men added in 1920. So interesting that they added to and did some renovations. Next. This was on a greeting card of some kind that we had in just a bunch of records. I don't know who drew this or who produced this, but you can see it says Erin on it and L&N Railroad. I don't know if it was a local artist who might have done this, but I love it. I think it's great. Next. And this is a very, very cool artifact that we have. This is a Tennessee ticket claim coupon, Clarksville to Erin, February 22nd, 1912. It's a ticket, passenger ticket. It's an original. It's not in the best of condition, but it's pretty good. If you can read up there, it says no food for passage. It talks about all kinds of different things. It's signed by General Pass Agent. So then the number is 4887. So that's all I have for you about the train depots in Houston County. Again, search your records, search your photographs, look for anything on any of the depots because I'm desperately trying to document them. Luckily, we have something on all of them. But again, keep in mind, I think these are what would be considered all recent renditions of depots, which means there probably were other depots before them and torn down and in different places. So, anybody got any questions?
When was the rail line put in? Was it before Civil War or after?
1850s, yes.
Do
The
you-
original
do-
lines came through.
Do you know Dr. Jerry Wooten?
Yes.
And of course, he wrote the book, and of course, about the lines during the Civil War. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious, he's now the park ranger in Paris.
Yes.
Paris Landing. And of course, I've become friends with him 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
But that's what I was thinking, and he gave me a book, and then I read about that, and of course, the guerrilla warfare, it was the different depots they were building to Johnsonville. They tried to build them, they burned them down, and they kept that. So
Yeah.
I would be curious to find out if he knows anything about the rail lines in, Houston, Humphreys, and
Yep.
see if he would have some information.
Several actually published books on the L&N Railroad, which includes Houston County. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that Houston County wasn't formed until 1871, so the majority of the railroad was already here. Now, they did some changes of course, when we became a county, Arlington was the capital city. Well, the railroad was like, we can't get up that hill. We need to do something different. So that's how come Erin became the capital city.
Right, and a little research that I had done was, it was the lawsuits about the formation of Houston
Yeah.
County. It was like, okay, because of Dixon County, Humphreys County, Stewart County, of course it was, Austin Peay was a state representative, and he ended up being the state representative during that time for Houston County.
Yeah. Yep, you're
And then
right.
later he became governor.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
like, okay, that's pretty cool.
So even though we don't have the railroad here anymore, it was huge, huge for our county. With the railroad, we were a booming county. We had industry. My mother-in-law grew up in Stewart, and in the 1950s even, she's written down a little history of who lived in this house, who lived next to them, what was next to that, all through Stewart. And I read that and I counted up 10 stores were in Stewart in the 1950s. Now you go through Stewart and you don't even know you're in Stewart and you're done. You're in McKinnon, you're in Danville. So our railroad history is very important to our county. It was very important in the fact that probably we're still here as a county. And it brought a lot of people to us. I'm actually doing a lot of research in newspapers. And every election cycle, the major candidates, not only state, but national candidates, came to Houston County to speak, to stump and to speech, and so then they reported it in the newspaper. I think it'd be an interesting study just to go and see all the different politicians and those running for office that have been here. Grand Ole Opry came here to perform. Many of you either attended those or heard about it. This is one I think is funny, and I have talked to my husband about it a lot. We had wrestling events, huge wrestling events. I know you're shaking your head, yes. And the turnout for those was huge. Everybody in the county turned out for those. So it's hard for us to think about today that we had these kind of things, but when you read newspapers, you read accounts of back then, it's fascinating. So search your records, search your photographs. If you come across something, you don't have to donate it. Bring it to us. Let us scan it. Some of what you've seen, we don't actually have. We've just scanned. People have allowed us to do it because this history is going away pretty quick if we don't save it. Any more questions or comments?
At one time, there was 6 passenger trains come through here in 24 hours.
Yep, that's right. And I have people tell me all the time, I used to get on the train to go to Clarksville. I used to get on the train to go here.
They went to Paris too.
Went to Paris? Yeah.
And the 102 stopped at every pig pad.
Every big man.
Even over at Bass Bay. They stopped right over there, right across the other side of the Danville Bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, you know, we lost a lot of history when they flooded
And the
Danville.
lady that, the operator down there, Stewart, when I was a kid, her name was Mary Morris.
Okay,
Yeah.
what did she operate?
She was a dispatcher for Depot.
At the depot, okay.
And then K.I. Bell was a dispatcher over here at Erin.
That's right. Yeah.
That's R.L.E. Bell's daddy.
I really built
Yeah,
it.
one time, R.L.E. Bell was a big dog in the L&N Railroad Company at one time.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And like I said, he actually donated a lot of his records and things to the Historical Society, so that's why we have a lot of what we have. We have a whole collection of L&N records, photographs, memorabilia. We have dated nails. We have all kinds of wonderful artifacts. And so we collect anything L&N Railroad.
See, the odd number trains went in one direction, even numbers went in another direction.
That was important to know.
Yeah.
Make sure you're on the
101,
right
it
train.
went in one direction, 102 went in a different direction.
All right, anything else before we eat? All right, well, thank y'all for listening to my presentation. I hope it inspires you to look for your photographs, look for your photos. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you again next week at 6 o'clock, and we will eat as well. We will adjourn and see what goodies are out here. Thank you all. Y'all welcome to stay as long as you want to visit and eat.